Shalom Yesharala. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rucha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to those Akim that's preach the word in all truth and sincerity. Along to Israelite foreigner brothers that like the heathens, but the line of outside goes back to the nation of Israel, which nation of Israel are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans through the prophecies and curses of Deuteronomy 28 chapter and throughout the Bible. So this is your brother Yakal, a mob of the video, and today's video will be entitled Suffer for Well-Doing Than for Evil-Doing. I was going to go on some precepts and Lord willing, you brothers and you sisters out there be edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai. And that is a quote from 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 17, which this is an epistle or letter that Apostle Peter wrote, back in the Roman Empire. But this is 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 17. It says, "For it is better, if the will of Yahweh be so, that you suffer for well-doing than for evil-doing." And that's right, because we're supposed to suffer for well-doing. Well-doing is talking about, suffering in this truth, for righteousness' sake. Us having to bear our cross, going through, a lot of trials and tribulations. You may, lose your job. You may lose your car. You might be carless for a season, or if you do have a vehicle, you may have experienced a lot of car troubles out of nowhere, or, you may not have your own home. Your woman might leave you, and if you had children by her, she might take your children. You may deal with sicknesses or injuries, so on and so forth. So that's, all in regards to the well-doing of bearing your cross in this truth. It says that you suffer for well-doing than for evil-doing, because we don't want to suffer for evil-doing. The evildoings will be, murdering and stealing and, bearing false witness and, things of that sort, pushing false doctrine. We don't want to suffer for evil doing, but we want to suffer for well doing, because when you go to 1 Peter 4, it speaks about, it goes into that when you, let's see, the point is in verse 15, but I'm sorry, verse 12, and this is 1 Peter 4 and 12, and it's entitled, Share the Sufferings of Yahweh Shai. It says, "Beloved, thinking not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you." Right, man. Because we all go through our fiery trials, and the more and more we increase in knowledge, the more and more challenging, those fiery trials be, those trials and tribulations, but the Lord always deliver us out of our trials and tribulations, because the Lord always makes a way for us to escape, but at the end of those sufferings, our faith is being built up. The Lord don't put hell on us to destroy us, it's to build up the inward man, so we could be able to be stronger in the spirit, so we can, prepare to endure the times of Jacob's trouble that's about to surely come upon earth very soon. It says, "Beloved, thinking not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you," which try means a test. Because at the end of the day, all these be tests, and it's easier said than done, of course. But the Lord gave us the tools, which are the scriptures, to apply them, so it can make the hell easier to bear. It says as though some strange thing happened unto you, because it's not strange, because that's part of being in the faith. Now, when you first come in the truth and you start catching hell from all angles, you know, when you first come in the truth, it's strange because you've never been through those things ever before. But that's the initiation process, of when you first come in the truth. It says, verse 13, but rejoice in as much as you are partakers of Yahweh's sufferings. All right? And of course, you're not going to be jumping up for joy when you're catching hell, when you're losing possessions, losing things, but rejoice in the sense of, that, you just take it over the chin and move on and grow from it and accepting it, It says, as much as you are partakers of Yahweh's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, which when Yahweh shall come back, that will be his glory being revealed upon the earth. It's going to be revealed unto everybody, because all eyes are going to see our Lord Yahweh Shai coming back in that huge chariot, so-called UFO, along with the angels. It says, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy, because when Yahweh Shai comes back, we're going to be glad, man, with exceeding joy, because we understand once our Lord Yahweh Shai comes back, then all our sufferings is over. All these curses that's on us now is going to be placed upon our enemies, and Lord willing, we going to be delivered. Verse 14, it says, if you be reproached for the name of Yahweh Shai, happy are ye, for the spirit of glory and of Yahweh resteth upon you. Yeah, so, because very soon we're going to be persecuted, man. East, we're going to be wanted very soon. Esau is going to come after us, but in those times, we understand that Yahweh Shai is going to be with us, and, we believe through faith that the spirit of Yahweh Shai is going to be resting upon us, because the Lord said that he will lift up a standard against Esau. When you read Isaiah 59:19, when Esau, the flood of ungodly men come in with great wrath, It's on their part, he is evil spoken of. So, it's in the mindset of these people of this world, Yahweh Shai is evil spoken of, because they don't understand Yahweh Shai. But on our part, he is glorified. So on our part, we glorify Yahweh Shai, because we fully understand, what this truth is about, what the intent of the Lord is, to destroy this kingdom and to set up the kingdom of heaven on earth. That's going to be ruled in righteousness. Verse 15, it says, disappoint, but let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. Yeah, so this will be, you don't want to suffer as a murderer, a thief, evildoer, or a busybody, being nosy in other people's businesses and stuff, being a talebearer, revealing secrets and telling other people about another brother's business. You're not supposed to do that, So that will all fall into the category of an evildoer, and we don't want to suffer for that. It says, verse 16, yet if any man suffer as a Christian, Christian just means Mashiachim, the anointed ones, followers of Yahweh Shai, let him not be ashamed. Yeah, because we're not supposed to be ashamed, because this is supposed to happen. We're supposed to suffer for the Lord's sake. It says, but let him glorify Yahweh on his behalf. And that's correct. So, we have to suffer for well-doing, man, because Yahweh Shai suffered for well-doing. He was, Yahweh Shai was perfect. He didn't sin. You know, he was perfect when he came in the Roman Empire. Now we understand that our Lord Yahushua was King Solomon in his past life, so he had to pay for his sins as Solomon. But when he came in the Roman Empire as in that incarnation as Yahushua, he didn't sin. He was perfect, you know. And but when you go to 1 Peter 2 in verse, let's see, 21, it says, "For even hereunto were you called, because Yahushua also suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow his steps and right." Because Yahushua, he suffered, man. You know, most Israelites didn't believe on him. You know, only the elect of the believers of Israel believed on Yahushua, beginning on with the 12 disciples who later became apostles. You know, but the most Israelites didn't believe in our Lord Yahushua, and Yahushua, he had to suffer that, man. You know, it was calling him Beelzebub, and they call him a demon. Say he had demons on him. You know, so he suffered that all of it going on the cross, man. You know, but we were supposed to. He left us an example on how we should follow. He was all about the Father's business, and that's how we got to be. You know, we got to be fervent in this truth. You know, constantly pushing out videos and being diligent. You know, reading, studying, watching videos. You know, keeping up with the news. You know, it says, "Who did no sin, either was God found his mouth." You know, so Yahushua, once again, he was perfect. You know, he didn't sin, and he didn't preach false doctrine. You know, he spoke 100% truth, man. You know, no deceit, no treachery was taught out of his mouth. You know, all Yahushua's words was in righteousness and full 100% truth. It says, "Who when he was reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not, but commended himself to him that judged righteously." So, because Yahushua, he was innocent, you know. And when you go to the NLT version, it says, "He did not retaliate when he was insulted, nor threaten revenge when he suffered. He left his case in the hands of Yahweh, who always judges fairly." And that's correct, man. So Yahushua, he didn't render evil for evil. You know, he had Yahushua received a lot of insults. You know, they offended our Lord Yahushua, man. The wicked Israelites, wicked scribes and Pharisees, you know. But he suffered for well-doing, man. He didn't suffer for evil-doing, even though those wicked Israelites charged him with him being, our Lord Yahushua being wicked, but he wasn't. Yahushua, he was righteous, man. But, the wicked Israelites desired Barabbas, which was an actual murderer. You know, they desired him over our Lord Yahushua, man. Just goes to show you, them was some wicked-ass niggas back then. And Yahushua gonna kill all them dudes when he come back. You know? So yeah, I just want to make a lesson on that. Suffer for well-doing, then for evil-doing. And Lord willing, I was edified. And till next time, Shalom.